Time now for Futures in Focus, and today we're looking at Bitcoin. It's up more than 200% this year, and last week we spoke to Scott Minerd, who is Guggenheim's global CIO, and he said its fair value still has a long way to go.
We made the decision to start allocating toward Bitcoin when Bitcoin was at 10,000. It's a little more challenging with the current price closing of a run-up we've had. But having said that, our fundamental work shows that Bitcoin should be worth about $400,000.
$400,000. Joining us now is Antoni Trenchev, Nexo co-founder and managing director. Nexo is a London-based provider of instant crypto credit lines. Antoni, I have to ask your reaction to that. $400,000 is a far cry from where we are now, and we climbed to 23,000 with such velocity. Where do you think Bitcoin goes in the near to medium term? How far away is something like 400,000?
Well, not too far away. It's going to take a while, but ultimately that price level would bring Bitcoin on par with gold, with the total market cap of gold. And since Bitcoin is a better version of gold, I think that's pretty realistic. I made a prediction earlier this year, like towards the beginning of the year, that Bitcoin will have an intermediary stop at $50,000, and I think that's where we're headed right now.
Scott Minerd is an institutional name, and I'm wondering if this year was the big shift, Antoni, in the way that people approach Bitcoin. If we are to see institutional managers starting to allocate towards Bitcoin, how big a shift in the kind of usefulness case does Bitcoin present? Because now it's being operated on a wider basis, there's a broader base. Does that continue to support a rally that will take us up to those kinds of numbers?
I really think so. You know, everything is on the side of Bitcoin right now. What you mentioned about the long-awaited institutional adoption is finally coming in. You see some household name billionaire investors, a lot of companies putting in their treasuries. Whether Elon Musk is going to do the same with the Tesla treasury, it remains to be seen. He's trolling us every now and then on crypto Twitter. But, you know, it's a perfect setup, the macroeconomic environment as well. So the fabric of the people who are engaged in Bitcoin is changing very rapidly, and it is very, very sustainable from that perspective. So I do think we are in for some good times here.
What do you think about regulation, Antoni? Has that caught up with this market yet?
To a certain extent. This goes back to what I just said, that the fabric of the people engaged in Bitcoin has changed quite dramatically, because early on, you know, it was all about cyberpunks and anonymity and, you know, being a side thing from the financial institutions and the way regulated entities work. Right now, we're seeing this last-minute push for rulemaking within crypto by the Trump administration, and you see that the markets, the price action hasn't budged. And I'm a believer in the efficiency of the markets, and if you know, this was of some concern of the overall market, we would have seen this reflected in the price, and we haven't. It's actually quite near the all-time highs since the announcement.
The Achilles heel of Bitcoin continues to be volatility. When other asset classes have seen volatility being suppressed, volatility remains relatively high in Bitcoin. Do you see that volatility coming down? And again, if we were to see that, does that make it a much more investable asset to a wider base of investors?
I would argue that if it weren't for Bitcoin's volatility, I wouldn't be on Bloomberg right now talking about it. It's one of its attraction points. It's a blessing and a curse, obviously, Guy and Kailey. But the fact of the matter is that it is about the investment strategy in Bitcoin. You just have to bite the bullet. You have to be invested in Bitcoin and take the long-term perspective, because on any scale, 1 year, 3 year, 5 year, 10-year scale, Bitcoin has outperformed any other asset. So it is about the right strategy, and here you got to be in for the long run.
Antoni, do you think Bitcoin is a correlated asset? There's been a lot of debate about that in recent weeks, given Bitcoin tends to do better on risk-on days.
Well, human beings, we tend to find correlation to just about anything. Every now and then it is correlated to the stock market, to gold. You know, you can find all sorts of analogies here. Fundamentally, I think that Bitcoin is very different, anything except gold, because of its inbuilt scarcity that we have in the Bitcoin software, and that it makes it very attractive in an environment where we have like the Fed just before Christmas printing another $4.1 trillion. It is no surprise then that we see the truly scarce assets rally in the way that they have, and going into 2021, I think that's going to be one of the major topics, and it's very likely that we see a melt up towards the price action in those scarce assets.
Antoni, we're going to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. Antoni Trenchev, Nexo co-founder and managing director, joining us from Sofia. Be interesting to see what Bitcoin delivers next year.